How's everyone doing? All right. It was a great morning, wasn't it? And lunch wasn't so bad either, was it? My name's Christopher Lee. We've got a great session for you set up today to talk a little bit about the International Association of Accessibility Professionals, otherwise known as IAAP. We got a lot of information that's crammed into this hour, so feel free to raise your hand or just signal in some way, and we'll be happy to answer questions throughout, but we'll save some time at the end to answer questions. So I want to do introductions first. I'm going to have each of the speakers. I'm up here with two wonderful individuals introduce themselves, and then we'll jump into the presentation. Conchita, do you want to go first?
Hello, everyone. I am Conchita Hernandez, and for visual description, I have long brown hair with like a white jumpsuit, and yeah, that's actually a really horrible visual description. Really excited to be here with you all today. You all are kind of in different journeys. I always say everyone's on an accessibility journey, and we're here to give you some tools and resources and networks to be a part of that. I am legally blind myself, and I reside in the United States. I'm originally from Mexico, though, so thank you so much for having us.
Hi, my name is Pina, and for visual description, I'm a white female with sort of shoulder-length, medium brown hair. I am wearing beige top with a little sparkly around the waist and beige pants. And I'm also wearing meta glasses to help me through this presentation. So I hear they're pretty cool, so that's wonderful. I'm originally, and I still live in Canada, do some work for IAAP, of course, and we'll be talking about one of the programs that I am leading and looking forward to get your engagement on. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, Pina. Thank you, Conchita. So again, my name's Christopher Lee. I am a white male, brown hair, a little on the shorter side, but a tall and internal stature, and it's great to be here. So we're going to jump through the PowerPoint right now, and I'll give you a little bit of background about IAAP, which is not the easiest acronym to say, but it's IAAP. We're just waiting for the PowerPoint. Okay, so as we wait, let me tell you some of the history. So IAAP started in 2014. And it started really interesting because what came up was that a lot of organizations, these are private entities like Microsoft, IBM, Adobe, as well as disability advocacy groups, came together and really started talking through focus groups about what they could do of ensuring individuals, when they'll hire, know about accessibility. So what was happening is these private companies were looking for people that they needed to hire to have accessibility skills and knowledge, okay? And they couldn't find them. They would hire these folks, and what would happen is they wouldn't last because they didn't have the accessibility skills. So this group of very large companies came together, as well as disability advocacy groups, and said, hey, what can we do to ensure that when someone comes through the door and they're being hired, that they know about accessibility? So that's where IAAP started. It started with the concept of, let's come up with some sort of entity to say, hey, we know that these folks have accessibility skills and knowledge. Now, with that, had to come up with some sort of framework for this to happen. And what this was is they came up with an international association. So IAAP is international in a sense. So it's number one. Number two, they said, well, we need to make sure that we do education, and we need to do training. And number three, we want to make sure that these accessibility professionals, they are actually networking. And lastly, they said we need some sort of skill type certification. So the core function of IAAP are three pillars. The first pillar being networking, then education, and then professional certification. Okay? Now, I want to pause for a moment and just make sure you understand what professional certification is. Because a lot of people think professional certification is, I take a course, and I get done with the course, and I get a certificate. That is not what professional certification is. We are an association, a professional association that has a body, a certification committee that basically comes up with the certifications and stamps those certifications. And the difference between a certificate and a professional certification is wide. Being that professional certification, you have to have ongoing training and ongoing education every year over a 3-year period to ensure that you keep your professional certification. Whereas a certificate, you take a class, you get done with it, and you show that you have a certificate. That's a very big difference between a certificate and professional certification. So IAAP provides certificates, badges for knowledge, but the skill set, meaning that when you walk into that office, when you get hired, you have that certification behind your name, they know that you can do the job, okay? So that's the big difference between the two, so I want to lay that out. So to give you a little bit more background, I'm having trouble. I think we're going to have to, yeah, thank you. All right, so give you a little bit of background, kind of the brevity of IAAP. So IAAP right now has over 8,000 members, and these members are globally. So people sign up to become members, and we actually work with them on different benefits, and I'll talk about that. We now have almost 8,000 people who are certified. So those numbers rise and they come down each year, but we're growing at a rate of about 12% per year. And we're right now in 137 countries. So what's pretty cool about these numbers is it shows that there's a need. And companies, particularly IT companies we've seen, want to have individuals that have the skills and the knowledge, two different things, right, to come on the job and start working for them and showing that their environments, their organizations are more inclusive. Next slide. Next slide. So again, like I was saying, so the interesting thing, I think this slide, I'm going to describe it to you. It actually has an image in there. It actually has a breakdown of the industries that we're seeing out there. So certification holders. I'm going to talk a little bit later on about the certification holders. We have several certifications that we provide. The other section of this slide is a graphic, and we're right now, as I said, close to between 7,500 and 8,000 members. But I wanted to drill down on those members because what the slide shows is the sectors and industry in which these members are involved in. So we have IT being the largest. So IT companies are interested in hiring people with skills and knowledge around accessibilities. Then we have education, we have consulting, we have government, we have finance, we have disability services, we have healthcare, we have telecommunications, and then we have a section called other. And other is this large mixed match of different sectors and industries that fall into that. You know, a lot of healthcare is kind of tied into that too. So there is some really great stuff happening that we're starting to track regarding the sectors that are interested in supporting accessibility. So the next slide is kind of the global footprint, because we keep track of exactly which countries are coming to the association, because we are this global association. And you'll see, obviously, the United States right now is up there at top. We started in the United States. We have Canada, UK, India, Germany, Egypt, Sweden, and so on. So there is a footprint that we're seeing wider and wider when it comes to the association itself growing. Now, there are a lot of challenges when that comes to growing an association in different regions, right? Different regions speak different languages. The culture is different. So what you say in one place may be different, a word in one place may be different than the other one. So as an association, relatively young, because our first certification that we did kicked off in 2016. So it hasn't even been 10 years with the certification standpoint, even though we started back in 2014. The next slide here is a slide that talks a little bit about the top 10 industries. So you'll see, and then also the job functions. Because we have these members coming to us all the time, and we're curious about what function they have within the jobs that they're going to. So just to read a couple of these, professional services is high up. There is industry, information technology, education, consumer services, government, financial, hospitals, healthcare, administration, manufacturing, and entertainment has been driving up, which I think is interesting. Now, on the flip side, within those organizations, what we're seeing regarding roles, meaning the role that you play within that organization, we're seeing business development, engineering, arts and design, which is, I think, very fascinating, IT, education, operations, media and communication, administration, community and social services, and human resources. We're also seeing more and more of a trickle around procurement, knowing how to procure software and hardware, making sure it's fully accessible. So the data that we are now starting to feed in, we're starting to collect after about 10 years, is becoming clear and clear that the global footprint is growing. More sectors and industries are coming in and saying, hey, we need folks that are certified or have the knowledge and skills to be able to be hired. And we have a little bit more of a glimpse now of the job functions that we're seeing. So the skills that are qualified, so this is really mostly focused on what these organizations actually need. And you can see education, continuously upskilling, the certifications, and mentoring and coaching. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to build our benefits, our member benefits around these topics. Because as we do research and we reach out there to our organizations through surveys, they tell us what they want. And these are the three areas: education, certifications or certificates in some cases, as well as coaching and networking. So the benefits that IAAP offers, again, keep in mind we have those three primary pillars, which is education, certification, and networking. We do the certification. We also do accessibility courses. We also have subject matter experts networking platform. This is important. This is where the subject matter experts, some have been in the field for years, come together and ask questions, or you as a new accessibility professional can come in and ask questions to these subject matter experts. There's a framework, there's a place that individuals can go to do that, which is exciting. So we have a platform. We have webinars that we provide, and these are topical webinars that tie to the role-based training that I just shared with you a few minutes ago. So these webinars, we have live webinars that offer these different role type areas, as well as we have an archived network of webinars that we provide. So as a member, you log into your profile, you can see all the webinars that we have, or you participate in live webinars throughout those years. Now, it's important that I pause here too, because remember when I started the presentation and I said you have to have professional education credits? These webinars count for that. So if you get a professional certification, you have to continue your education. You can't just stop. That is what's important about professional certification, based different from a certificate. So you go to these webinars and you submit your education throughout the year, or at the end of 3 years, because it's a 3-year term, and you come back saying, hey, I've continued my ongoing education, I can keep my certification. That's, again, what's different between a professional certification and a certificate. It's so important. People don't understand that a lot. So the other thing is we have member digital badges. So as we grow the global footprint, organizations that join IAAP have an organizational badge. This is a commitment badge that's saying that they are working on their internal inclusion processes, as well as the individuals themselves have badges. So as long as you keep up those credits, those educational credits, you basically are able to keep that badge, and you can put that on your LinkedIn profile and so on. You can kind of share it through social media. We also have a career center that's involved in that too. So as you're looking for jobs, jobs are posted on the career center, and then you can apply for those jobs, tying your certification to the knowledge and skills that you have. And then we have a membership directory. So you can look and see who's a member, who's not a member of that. So the networking piece, I want to just drill down on that in a few minutes, because we do a lot of different projects around networking. This one is something we just launched in May. And most of you have heard, or you will hear, about the EAA, the European Accessibility Act. We knew that all subject matter experts, all individuals who are certified, needed to be out there communicating some of the things going on with the EAA, which launched June 28th. So one of the networking platforms that we used and we utilized was LinkedIn, easy platform to use. And so we have a question and answer section on the platform. Now, since we've launched it, we have over 800 people that have actually joined it. Now, how we frame this is that every Tuesday we have a question something that's posted based on one of the articles of the EAA. And that's on Tuesday. And on Thursday, we answer those questions. So it's a back and forth, okay, of that. And then we have a monthly drop-in, a webinar that dives deeper into what the questions were. So it's definitely worth looking into. It's definitely going to LinkedIn, typing EAA Q&A, and you'll find out all the information that we're posting right now around questions and answers. So this is one example of some of the networking that we do. Now, the education piece is something that we know our members need. And our members are sometimes just beginning in the field. They may have been in the field for a couple years, or they may be really subject matter experts that have been in the field a long time. So we have to be real cautious about the education that we put up and make sure it meets what they need. So I'm just going to kind of go through some of the courses that we've got. Now, these are courses, not training, in a sense. So we've got, information on social media, which we're going to hear about in just a second, which is a training that we have. We also have a course in our learning management system platform. Then we have information on fundamental digital accessibility. We have a built environment course that's in there. And then we also have the accessible design overview, and then accessible document overview, which is dealing with accessibility around PDFs, dealing with accessibility about Excel files, Word documents, and so on. And then lastly, we have one on accessibility testers. So if you're testing websites, you need to know about accessibility in that area, you're interested in it, there's a course that ties to that. The other area that we're working on is something that you only hear from Pina, which is our business accessibility criteria. That's a new initiative that we have for our members that ties directly to organizations and their needs in order to be more inclusive. So before I bring Conchita up, I want to talk a little bit about some of the certifications and give you an idea of what those are. So currently, we've got 3 primary certifications. We have the Certified Professional in Accessibility or Core Competencies. It is a mouthful. I did not come up with that name, nor did anybody up here on stage come up with that name. It's called CPAC. And it was our first certification launched, and it was launched in 2016, as I mentioned. Now, let me tell you how interesting how the certifications work. These are global certifications because we are a global organization, which is challenging, right? So what we do is we bring subject matter experts around the table for about 6 months. There have to be 12 of them. They have to know English as well as the local language in which we're developing the certification in, and they have to know the topic. Those are the 3 primary criteria that have to be done before they can come around the table, the subject matter experts. During that process, they come up with a body of knowledge. They define the domains of what makes up that certification, all right? And that's interesting, be a fly on the room in that one, right? A lot of people, subject matter experts, have their opinions, right? A lot of opinions. So they get down, they come up with the domains, like 6 domains, let's say, within the CPAC: accessibility, assistive technology, what is a disability, some of the solutions. These are some of those domains. After domains are done, it's important that you know that we can't just rely on these subject matter experts, no matter how good they are. We go out and we do a job task analysis survey, meaning that those domains that those people sat around the table to collect go out, and we have to make sure we have 200 people that are subject matter experts put their thumbs up saying that we're on the right track. So this goes through a very intense process to get this certification to be developed. And then we have to maintain those certifications, and then we have to redo those certifications as laws, standards change, technology changes. So it's an ongoing process. So after that's done, we have a professional certification after all that work's been done. So the core competency one is a broad certification. It is about, like I said, disabilities. It is about solutions. It's about assistive technology. It's about a little bit about UX. It's broad, and you do need some knowledge around disabilities to actually apply to become a candidate to take the certification. You can't just buy the certification. It's very important. You have to apply for it. There's an application process 4 times a year that we open it up to apply, to become a candidate, to sit for an exam. The exams are proctored. So somebody's there while you're taking the exams online, or if you do it at a conference like this, someone's there to be proctored. Very different than a knowledge-based certificate, okay? So we have the CPAC, which is broad. The pre-qualifications aren't as strict. Then we have 2 technical certifications that are deep technically. You have to have spent time coding for the web accessibility specialist, coding using assistive technology, understanding what a full website or application is accessible. And that is about 3 years that you have to actually have work, hands-on skills in that area before you can apply to become a candidate to take the exam. Okay, so again, exams work the same way. You have to keep it up every 3 years. The next one we have is a document accessibility specialist, accessible document specialist, ADS. And it's really all about documents, PDFs, Word documents, Excel's not very complicated, but again, it is deep, it is technical. It means that you have to be touching these documents on a regular basis for your organization. So when you get these certifications and you're stamped and you have a badge saying that you're on an IAAP professional certification, you can walk into that job and you know that you can do that job. And the person that hired you within the organization knows you can do that job. Now, the web accessibility specialist, the goal with that one is that we want to make sure that anybody that leaves IAAP in the sense and been stamped with a certification, that they can actually lead an accessibility team at some level. You know, so they can come in with other developers around them, coding, and they know, watch color contrast. Make sure the color contrast's right, or make sure that specific other areas of the code is accessible. So it gives you a little idea of the certifications and what we're driving for. Now, what's happening with IAAP as we move and grow, as we listen to our members, we know they want to go beyond that. We know that that role-based training is so important to tie to the certifications, right? So with that, we are packaging these courses that I showed you a few minutes ago, and eventually you'll be able to get, let's say, digital accessibility, 4 courses, 4 tests that you take. Tests, not exams. Exams are proctored. Tests you take on your own time. After you get done with those tests, that's packaged, and you will eventually, by the first of the year, be able to get a CPAC, which is our broad certification, plus in digital accessibility, or a CPAC plus in procurement, or HR, very role-based. So we're going to be rolling that in 2026. You'll see CPAC pluses, and you can add these additional trainings, these tests that you take onto the actual certifications. Okay, so we also have, as I mentioned, knowledge badges. So this is tied to the training. We realize that not everyone's going to go get their certification. Not everyone's going to be an expert in web accessibility. And that's not for everyone because they don't code every day, but they do touch it. So we realize that we need to move forward with our members to become more aware of accessibility in specific areas. So the courses I mentioned earlier has digital badges tied to it. Now these digital badges are linked to an organization called Credly that IAAP has a third-party vendor contract with. And they have metadata behind these badges. So when you click on these badges, you'll find out exactly a little bit more about your accessibility knowledge. So if you're looking for a job again and you have these badges, you click into it and you'll know a little bit more. So we've got badges that now will be rolled out in accessible documents, accessible fundamentals, accessible development, and as I mentioned, accessible testing. So just a few what will be coming up. And they're all tied to the learning management system and the courses that we have in those. Now, one of the areas that we're moving on, which is why we're here, part of this conference, is that we're looking for approved providers. These are trainers that have certifications, IAAP certifications, that can actually help grow and expand the network of IAAP. So we have chapters around the globe that actually helps us do this, and we're looking for training providers also. So if you're interested, let me know. Now, to drill down a little bit about some of the training that we're doing, Conchita, I'm going to have you come up and talk a little bit about the social media training.
Hello, everyone. This is Conchita. If you use social media, please clap. If you post to social media, please clap. Okay. So we're all somehow involved in social media. And so we should be ensuring that anything we post is accessible to everyone on social media. And one thing I hear a lot, whether it's social media or Word documents, is, oh, I put the alt text, so I'm good, right? It's accessible because I did the alt text. Accessibility is beyond alt text, right? Hashtags. How many of you, if you use hashtags, clap once? So hashtags have a certain way that they're supposed to be written in order to be accessible. If you are writing a hashtag with multiple words, such as Inclusive Africa, right? You're using the hashtag Inclusive Africa, and you make your hashtag where every single letter is lowercase, that is inaccessible to someone using a screen reader. You need to make sure that every letter that is the first letter of a word is capitalized. And so the I in inclusive should be capitalized, and the A in Africa should be capitalized. And so it's little things like that that we may not even recognize that make social media so much more accessible, which is beyond alt text. That is one area. So on September 26th, we are going to be hosting a webinar, a live webinar that you can join, and it will give you the training on social media accessibility. So what you can do, how to post. We're going to be doing it really hands-on, so you're going to bring a post you want to do or maybe a past post, or we're going to take a look at it on how to make sure it is fully accessible. You're also going to receive a toolkit that has a cheat sheet that's going to tell you, okay, these are the things I need to check every time. And if one of the items like, oh, I don't remember exactly how to do color contrast, then you can dive deeper into the document to get the information. So it will give you all of the resources, all of the information. This is happening on September 26th. We are capping the training to 25 individuals because we really want it to be hands-on and get your questions answered and making sure you're getting all of the information that you need. And so we will be opening up more in the future. This is kind of our pilot to ensure that everyone's getting what they need. So if you're interested in taking the social media training, either for yourself, for your company, for your organization, please come see me so I can send you the sign-up link. And as part of the training, you will receive one of the digital badges. So currently, only people that are members of IAAP receive the badges. However, if you take this training, you will be able to receive a digital badge. And one of the ways that you can use it is you can add it to your signature line. And so every time you send an email, people can be like, oh, this person is like certified, not in the, has a certificate in social media accessibility. And so kind of starting at, you may not work on websites, you may not work on accessible documents, but we all post on social media, so ensuring that that content's accessible and that everyone can access that. So feel free to come and see me to sign up for that training. It is a $250 training. However, if you want to have conversations about what it can look like for your organization or a specific need that you have, we can have that conversation. I will hand it back over.
definitely talks about engagement, making sure, as we said, nothing about us without us. So how do you engage persons with disabilities or different stakeholders to make sure that you develop an inclusive environment that actually will change the culture within the organization? The second category is about assets and tools, and this is really about what are the tools, the standards that you're using within your organization, and how are you using them. It also takes into consideration things like, what about data collection? Do you have a data collection process? What is the data you are collecting, and how are you using that data to inform decision? I think that's really important as you move forward. It also has information on emergency resilience and responsiveness, because that's an area that I think we're going to hear much more about as we deal with climate change and we deal with all of the things that are happening around the world. And so there's toolkits there and resources as well there. And the last category covers people, anything that is human-centric, things like how do you hire persons with disabilities within your organization. So part of the recruitment, the interviewing, and so on. The accommodation process, so how do you accommodate, provide adjustments for employees or customers who have disabilities. And how do you train your staff? Right? How do you train based on roles or based on particular initiatives or based, as Christopher was noting before, on different topics? So those are the three criteria, the three categories. And as you drill through each of those categories, we go to step 2, which basically says, okay, now that you've looked at the category, you can select the topic that you want to know more about. And what I didn't mention before is within the whole program, it's subsequent to those 3 categories, we actually have separated the criteria in 14 unique topics. And so you have the topic, as I said, in leadership, you have the topic around engagement, you have topics around the design and planning for accessible products and services, and that is things like, okay, what do you need to include in your design? What do you need to do around development? What do you need to do around testing? We hear a lot about something called AI. Does anybody know about AI? Yeah? Do you guys folks deal with AI at all? Artificial intelligence? So we talk a little bit about that. And as I said, human resources. We also have a section on procurement. Christopher noted how that's becoming really relevant, and so on and so forth, and customer services. We spoke a little bit about that as well, right? Okay, so you've now selected a topic, or you've done a search by keywords, which you can do. And what you're going to get is a list of criteria related to that topic or that key search. And those will be things like the company or the organization, the company has a policy on how to engage with persons with disabilities by indicating how they do outreach for persons with disability, for instance. And that will then, when you click on that, you're going to also get a list of related criteria. One of the things about this program is that each of the criteria rely on another criteria, because you can't do one thing in isolation. If you're thinking about engaging persons with disabilities, for instance, or engaging with persons with disabilities, one of the related criteria might be something like you need to make sure that your communication channels are also accessible. So you need to have a policy, but you also need to have the tools, right? And then from there, you can also click on additional resources that can tell you can tell you the how to do it and provide you some guidance on organizations or businesses that may have already done it successfully. Does that make sense? Okay. So how do you engage with this program, right? So how do you become a member of this? At this time, we do require organizations to be IAAP organizational members. It is a yearly subscription. And as part of this, as I mentioned before, you get all those additional value services. You can come to me and I'd be happy to tell you more about the program. We could also set up a separate meeting where we can do a demo about the program and walk you through it and kind of give you a bit of a taste for it. And as people with disabilities within other areas, other countries, we are continuously looking to evolve the program. So some of the things that we're thinking about, you know, how do we make this a little bit easier for other countries that may not be as advanced in accessibility, for instance, or where, you know, English is not their first language. Now, I don't think Christopher mentioned this, but a lot of our programs are also available in multiple languages. This is not one yet, but we'd like to make it that way. And so, you know, certainly if you want to be a collaborator and if you want to engage, we would welcome your help. So thank you for now, and I hope you'll have some questions. Thank you.
I think we have just a couple more minutes for questions. Any questions from the audience? That was a lot of information thrown at you. I will add one thing on the back, the business accessibility criteria that Pina just went over, is that, you know, IAAP is working with these organizations of disabilities to develop the criteria. We own the IP of the criteria, but we don't change it. The disability service groups that we work with, they're the ones that tweak the criteria. So it is a recommendation from organizations of individuals with people with disabilities. So that's something to keep in mind. In addition to that, we don't do the remediation or the implementation. And I think that's real important to state. We hold the navigator criteria. We keep it tight. We work with a steering committee that makes changes. We do some coaching on the navigator. We have resources that we've collected from other strategic partners, not just our resources. And so, but we also rely on approved providers to help do the work. So for example, if a company pulls in around procurement and one of the criteria and they need some work in that criteria, they'll go out and we have recommended approved providers or people outside, organizations outside of ours that can come in and do that implementation work. So we just host the navigator and provide some basic level skills to understand how to use it, to implement it. The ultimate goal of the BAC program is to collect data that's obviously going to be stripped from companies' names and everything on good practices around how organizations, all or not in some cases, dealing with inclusion within their organization, and publish that for our members so that's out there so organizations can learn from other organizations.
I think the last, sorry. Yeah.
You have a question?
So, hello. First of all, I'd like to greet IAAP for their efforts and what they offer, especially for us as Africans and people with disabilities. I'm a certified professional in accessibility core competencies, and recently I've started my own business. And I started it since 2 months, actually. So, am I eligible to take part in this program or not? And what's the eligibility again, because I haven't attended since the beginning of the roundtable.
Thank you for that. Pina, did you want to say something on that? You have to face the mic. I got you. Looks like you. No, oh, you're over here.
Yeah. So I just want to clarify your question. So what you're asking is, as an independent consultant or professional, can you join the BAC program? Is that correct? Yeah? Okay.
Shaking, yes.
Yes, you can. You certainly can. We are still working out some details in regards to what that pricing can look for small businesses at this time, but certainly reach out to us and we'll have that conversation. I do also want to say, in addition to what Christopher added, this program, the real big focus on this program is to really understand
the impact it has on persons with disabilities, right? As I said before, it's not a checklist, it's not a compliance tool, but it's really to make sure that whatever the business does impacts directly in a positive way people with disabilities. And I think that's very unique in its own case, right? Any other questions?
Can I add a comment to that?
Yes.
Separate from that program, though, you can absolutely join IAAP as a professional.
Yes.
And join the networking. So you'll be able to connect with other people around the world who are doing accessibility in whatever way, so that you can ask questions and share knowledge and check in with them. So you can absolutely become a IAAP member.
Yes, thank you very much for this wonderful session. Seriously, IAAP is needed in the world because, for example, I'm a designer. I design systems, 80 systems, but I may find that when I'm working, I need someone to help me while I'm developing. When I'm developing firmware, I need someone to help me. Like I had Madame said that, for example, when I'm writing hashtags, these things must be included inside the software. So I think we need to have ambassadors within each country, such that they can reach down at the bottom of the developers and they help us out. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
It's an excellent idea. Thank you for that. I really do. Have ambassadors. So we're going to wrap this up. We're running a little bit over. If you have any other questions, we'll be outside the room. We're happy to talk to you. Thank you. Thank you, Conchita. Thank you, Pina. And thank you for the audience. Thank you.
you.